learning more about some of the local heroes from Barcelona, learning some lessons, taking away some valuable points, and learning more about the rich community of startups here in Catalonia and in Barcelona. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our moderator for this session on Barcelona local heroes. It is the Director General for Innovation and Entrepreneurship for the Government of Catalonia, Lluís Juncà. Lluís. There he is. Thank you very much indeed, Lluís.
Where shall I sit?
¿Pasamos?
You can sit wherever you wish, Lluís.
Okay. I'll put here. Well, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure from the Catalan government to be sitting here and organizing this event. Today we want to promote two of our local heroes, as we like to call them. We are proud of our startup ecosystem, and we like to share with you some of the main representatives of this ecosystem. We have two guests here, Uri and Julio. I will first briefly introduce these two local heroes to you. Uri is an aeronautical engineer and also holds an MBA from Stanford. Prior to his endeavor with Belvo, he served as an aerospace engineer at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the NASA, for 3 years, and he was the CEO of Berste Technologies. Now he's the co-founder of Belvo. Is currently leading an open banking API platform in Latin America and has entered the world's most prestigious startup program, Y Combinator. On the other side, we have Julio Martínez, co-founder and CEO of Abacum. Julio has an extensive educational background that includes a law degree, an MBA from IESE, and a Stanford executive program focused on new digital business and venture capital. Julio is an entrepreneur and an expert in financial projects, and in fact, prior to the creation of Abacum, he was the CEO of InnoSales by Banc Sabadell. Abacum was also selected by Y Combinator program, and in 2021, it closed a 22 million Series A investment round, a deal that was led by Atomico, a fund that had previously invested in the startup. Well, Uri and Julio, do you feel comfortable with this label of local heroes? I will give you the floor to give your first feelings about this branding that we like to call this local hero. I know it sounds something big, but we are really proud of you guys. We are really proud of having companies that grow this fast and this good, and we'd like to share with you this. We'd like you to share your experiences with all the public. So first, do you really feel like a local hero?
It doesn't feel that way. It's humbling and appreciate that branding, but when you are in the trenches, all that matters is the day-to-day and putting in the effort. It's actually, probably the real heroes were the ones that started the ecosystem here in Barcelona back in the day, and we have tremendously benefited from a lot of the early companies that have made Barcelona a very successful tech hub in Europe and in the world.
Uri, how do you feel?
Yeah, but probably pretty similar. I mean, I think to me the definition of a hero probably is something very different. I see people who actually do things for others. I don't know. Like, I mean, we can think about the ones who care for people who are sick, people who are poor. I do consider myself like a very lucky person. I've been lucky enough to work with amazing people at the company that we started. Lucky enough to have chosen the right moment, and to me it's a combination of definitely you have to be lucky to start something that sticks and that grows, and also being very curious. But to me, I think the definition of hero is very different from how I feel about myself.
Well, I'm staying with you, Uri, and tell us a little bit more about Belvo. What's the mission of Belvo?
Yeah, so what we do at Belvo, so what we want to do is we want to democratize access to financial services in Latin America. So the way we started the company with Pablo, we were leading Verse back in the day, and we thought about expanding the company. Verse is a peer-to-peer payments platform where you can exchange money with your friends. And we wanted to expand that business to Latin America, and what we found is that that was not a very good idea. It was very expensive to grow this type of business that was actually not generating revenue in a market that we didn't know. But while we were trying to understand the market, we saw that the financial infrastructure that we needed to use in order to build that business was completely missing. And we started having conversations with companies, and what we saw is that fintechs in Latin America, they struggle to actually do three things, which is getting access to information about their end users to provide them with real financial services, process that information in order to make decisions, and move money. So these three processes are extremely manual, very complex, and very expensive. So what we want to do is build the financial infrastructure very similar to what AWS does with software. They provide you with all the infrastructure you need to start a software company. We want to do the same thing for financial service companies in Latin America, so that we can enable the new era of financial services in LATAM by being very, very focused on the infrastructure layer, so providing an API that allows companies to actually access this information, process the information, and move money in very easy and cheap ways.
Now you have three locations. You have Barcelona, Sao Paulo, and Ciudad de Mexico. How do you run this business from Barcelona? Does it give you any advantage to have the headquarters in Barcelona to go to this market in South America?
We would probably say that now headquarters is it's Sao Paulo, Mexico already. So we're a LATAM first and LATAM only company. Paulo and I were from Spain. We started the company here, and we started hiring here the first people who joined the company. It gives us the advantage of being able to hire very expert talent, people who have been there, have done that in the startup ecosystem. However, our market is Latin America. We have to be not even a Latin American company. We have to be a Mexican company in Mexico. We have to be a Brazilian company in Brazil, a Colombian company in Colombia. So it is a struggle to run. I mean, we don't say that we're running the business from Barcelona, but in some cases it's a struggle to be here, right? Especially because you don't feel the same feelings as your clients. And that makes it a bit hard. So for us, we have to travel quite a lot. We have to understand the needs of our clients, and being here in Barcelona, it helps us attracting talent. But I would say that every day we're more a LATAM company.
Right. Julio, tell us about more Abacum. What's the company about? What's the mission?
The mission that we have is to empower and support SMBs and mid-market companies, and making them thrive by equipping their finance teams. So when you look at the different departments in every SMB and mid-market company, we strongly believe that finance is lagging behind, right? So instead of a strategic function, they are really a back office function, and a big loss is triggered in these companies. So our mission is to make these finance guys superheroes in the organization, so that the companies can make better decisions and also drive faster execution. This is the mission.
Before founding Abacum, you worked in the USA, in Switzerland, in Brazil, and then you became a startup founder. That was only 2 years ago, no?
Yes.
Tell us more about this 20 months. We were talking before at the stage, and it's been a very fast run, very fast growth. You've run from 0 employees to 90, you said?
Yes.
In 20 months. So tell us about more this fast journey.
It's been a blast, right? So we've been very lucky. Obviously, there has been a lot of commitment and determination from Jorge, my co-founder, and obviously myself. But we've been lucky with the team we've been able to amass. So we hired very strong people from day one, Jose, Javi, and some other people, many from Barcelona, but then quickly abroad, and also in some other regions. And the journey has been amazing. So I think that the key here has been we have a very customer-obsessed culture. we develop product very closely to customers, and that has been the essence and the key value of the company.
Well, I think it's a common challenge for everybody here at the 4 years from now to talk about the hiring process, how you get the talent you need to grow your companies. Tell us how you do that. Is there a special recipe that you can use? Is there any tips that you can share with us on how you hire the best for your company?
Look, so the market is, as everybody knows, a buyer's market when it comes to talent, right? So the candidates have all the experience, and those that are selling jobs are basically struggling. So that's a reality, right? And we can think of different reasons for that. So obviously many companies are very well funded. If you are hiring in Barcelona or in Spain or even in the classic places in Europe, hey, reality is that a lot of big companies, big tech, have relocated here. The remote aspect of it is also increasing salaries. And sometimes you need to compete with US companies hiring remotely in Europe with US salaries. So it's definitely challenging and distorted. We've been very lucky. So I think that a part of what we have is a very strong culture. I think that really resonates with candidates along the interview process. So having a top-notch, very fast interview process where you can share your values and the excitement about the mission. Abacum is a very mission-driven company. And I think that genuinely appeals a certain type of candidate that prefers that rather than going to a bigger company and just being another additional employee. So the capacity we offer for candidates to have an impact very quickly is something that is becoming key for us to attract talent, I think. Yeah, that should be the key component.
In your case, Uri?
Yeah, I think they're very similar to what you said. So for us, some of the things that we did at the beginning, because we know that, I mean, for a candidate, changing jobs is not something you do like every year, right? So for a candidate, joining a company is a pretty big decision. So first thing we did was we hired somebody super expert on as VP of people very early on. I think she was employee number 9 or number 10 at the company. Definitely a lot more senior than what we would expect at the beginning, but that changed the way we hire, the way we shape the culture, and that also helps a lot in retaining the best talent. I agree with Julio on communicating the mission and the values of the company. That is what can make a startup different from any other company, right? So it's, hey, you're going to have real impact day one in your new job. Do you want this, or do you want to be working on a very small feature on a big company? There are people who might be, I mean, there's always going to be companies that are going to pay more. And if you want to optimize for salary, that's not going to be the place for you to be. But if you want to optimize for impact, then startup is definitely your place. And people do value impact and having a great working environment, learning from peers, meeting amazing co-workers, a lot more than just money. So for us, I think being extremely aggressive on who we hire, hiring the best people, because they are going to be the ones attracting other people, that's a must. One thing we do is with every candidate that comes to the company, we ask them to find the 3 smartest people they know, and we should hire them as well. So that is part of the onboarding process with each candidate, and that actually helps a lot.
That sounds very, very clever, but I want to insist on that thing about the hirings you do remotely. How do you transmit these intangibles, this mission, these values to a guy who's working for you in some remote country? I mean, how difficult must that be? No? I understand all these added value that you have from having a core values and a mission, but that seems easy to transmit to a guy who's working in your office, that get to know you personally. But how do you do that when this person is working from Poland or from South America?
I think it starts with, it's not only the part of the interview process that you have to work on, it's a lot more, right? So it's about the brand awareness of the company and be extremely aligned, like the people department, marketing department, everyone in the company, say, hey, this is how we want to position the company, invest a lot on getting everyone to know what is Belvo, how we work at Belvo. So we actually have our blog where we post things around the culture, where we post things about working at the at Belvo, and that makes people who join the interview process be already aware of that. And you talk to them and say, hey, like, how much do you know about the company? And they say, hey, I've read this blog post, I've seen this podcast. So all that effort really makes a big difference, and it helps a lot communicate what you want not from day zero, from day minus 30, when they actually start knowing the company and thinking about deciding to apply.
We could say that in a way that all new companies are doing what they say sometimes, that every company is a media company. That you have to create a community, you have to express yourself, you have to have your own community, even though you are not a media company. But you, and that's a leverage for you for a lot of things, from hiring to making more profitable your company. How this resonates to you? This thing about becoming a media, or do as if you were a media company to create this community around you.
I think it's critical, right? And probably we need to focus going forward more on creating the brand and ensuring that there is a consistent narrative across all teams exposed to the market, like being it employees or so that's going to be the hiring team, being it the sales team, the marketing team. Oftentimes when you grow very fast, it's difficult to have a very consistent narrative all across the different aspects of the company. And I think it's important to create this aura. And this aura comes from related to hiring before. For instance, at the beginning, like Uri said, right? So we grew tremendously out of referrals. So it's basically, and still that's the best source for us to attract talent. So referrals means employees share people they strongly recommend to work in the company. So that's the cheapest, the fastest, but most importantly, the most successful, right? Because there is a natural filter when it comes to culture that happens via the referral. So that allows you to be fast at the beginning. Now that we need to reach 100 people very soon and doubling towards the end of the year, that is not scaling anymore, obviously. So creating that brand, employer branding, and building that narrative, and Belvo has done an amazing job there. Definitely the way to go.
Okay. Let's take a moment to talk about money. Abacum has raised $25 million, and you have both VCs and other startups that have invested in your company. Tell us a little bit about how these two different types of investors help your company to grow.
Yeah, so at the beginning, angel investors are critical. Our first round was also institutional, so we had a combination of both, 50-50. I think at the beginning, very important to have strong angels on board. Obviously, they can be instrumental later on in opening doors or endorsing credibility in the company. Sometimes when you have a very strong angel investing, that's going to be a good signal. Institutional investors have been awesome for us, right? They have made a difference for the company in many ways. So, for instance, when you think of K-Fund, our first local and only local fund, I think in my mind they are the best Spanish fund. We went with them because they had an operational partner, former chief product officer from a very successful European startup. And Sergio has been instrumental in how we think and shape product in the company, right? So that we wouldn't have access to this guy if K-Fund had not invested very early on when we had only a PowerPoint, like literally a PowerPoint. So and obviously stakes get higher when you move north that stage, and then we had Criandum or Atomico. They have been amazing in supporting us. So very recently, we hired our VP of Talent Acquisition. And it's a critical role, and frankly, we had been struggling with that position for 9 months, so it was slow. And they introduced us to Gita. She's based in London, former Apple, former Google, former TikTok, and look, we persuaded her, and she's in the company to lead hiring, right? So yeah, without Atomico, typically you don't have access to this person, and you don't have her on board in a month. So that's how it works.
And Uri, in your case, you've raised 35 million. It's quite a milestone. Tell us a little bit more about your financial goals and what the pace of growing that this schedule is forcing you to do.
Yes, I mean for us it was when we raised the latest round, it was very important for us to grow very, very fast, to expand to new geos. But more importantly, I mean we have the vision of providing, as I was saying at the beginning, I mean 3 capabilities for companies, which is data access, data enrichment, and payment initiation. The last part is actually a pretty complex one. It starts to get you start to get into regulated industry. You need to actually work with banks. It's almost a startup within the startup. So that required quite a lot of resources, and for us, having that muscle helped. It's not a milestone for us raising money. I think it's a testament of the good work that you're doing. But in the end, it came at a very good moment. We were not raising, but investors wanted to double down and to preempt the Series A. And we said, hey, we can use the money to grow faster, to hire more people, to hire even more senior engineers, more senior executives. And that has been instrumental. I think it puts you in a place where the company is capable of attracting new talent, and for us, that's super important.
Thank you. And now let's move on to your sectors. How do you see the future of your sectors? We can start with you, Uri, the banking sector. How do you see it in the next 10 years?
So I see that the financial industry has always been fully owned by some players, from the very top, which is the relationship with the client, to the very bottom, which is all the infrastructure that needs to be built. And I think that's going to change completely. That's going to be segregated, and there are going to be companies focused on each one of the layers. And that's what we're seeing with fintech, right? So specifically in Latin America, a lot of companies, I mean, the biggest challenger bank in the world is Nubank, which is based in Brazil and expanding to other markets. These companies are providing the first layer, which is relationship with the end user, who is desperate to get access to financial services because nobody else provides them with these services, or the services that get there are extremely expensive because just providing the entire infrastructure or the entire layer for banks is actually costly, so that's why they charge quite a lot of money. So we see that there are going to be companies focused on each layer. We want to be in the infrastructure one, and we see a world where, I mean, the same way that software was changed 20 years ago with the presence of players like AWS, Google, etc. That's going to happen with financial infrastructure, and that's going to open a lot of possibilities and new services for clients.
And you, Julio, the software as a service, you help scale companies. And, how this is going to change? What's the current fashion of this sector?
So SaaS continues to be a super fast-growing market, and it really has changed how technology is deployed and how companies buy technology or install technology. In our mind, what is critical is to succeed in the biggest markets for SaaS, right? For software as a service. And in our case, the US continues to be the largest market by far, right? So they represent 75% of revenues of SaaS globally, right? That's including China. So it is very, very clear that for a company like Abacum, you need to target the biggest market and focus there. It's a risky move, obviously, but yeah, targeting and winning in the biggest market. It's to me the essence.
And that needs personal commitment. No? You were sharing with me before that you will move to New York in the next weeks, I think, no?
Yes.
No? To make sure that this challenge is very well represented. Because, well, tell us about more how important it is for the company to have the founder leading this mission, no? And how maybe it would be impossible to do it if you were staying in Barcelona.
I think it's very important, right? So when you look at European companies that went into the US, if you want them to succeed, typically that requires sending a very strong signal to the US market. Actually, sometimes many European companies, they disguise as US players and they convert into US players and they hide the European operations. And that's very true for Colibra or yes, some other amazing European companies that actually had a huge impact in the US market. If the talent war, the challenges in talent acquisition are even more acute in the US, right? So we face them here in Europe, but in the US they are even more complicated. So if you want to access and to attract and to hire the best talent very fast at the pace the company needs to grow, yeah, so having a founder, having the CEO present in the market sends a very strong signal. So, you know, the US operations are not just, let's see if it goes well. It's not a small bet for the company. You are sending a signal that it's the key market for the company. We are a US company, and you know, we will win in the market. So that's essentially what we're doing.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
We only have 4 minutes left. We want to share with our local ecosystem our vision that we hope that many companies grow bigger and bigger, and some will eventually become unicorns. How far is for you this goal, or maybe it's not a goal for you, or you didn't use it as a way to measure your growth? But in any way, what are your next steps, and how are you going to make your companies bigger?
Yeah, I think the term unicorn is we see it as a vanity metric at Belvo, because it kind of sounds like you're doing something, you've accomplished something, and in the end, it's just like one point in the journey, right? So for us, it's more, so the way we measure success at Belvo is how many people we're impacting by the service that we provide. We've managed to cross the number of people that we've helped more than 1 million people within just 2 years of existence, and I think that's very positive. But there are still 650 million people who do not have access, or who are struggling to get access to financial services, and for us that's the key metric, right? So keep growing like very, very fast on the number of people that we serve, even if we serve companies. So we're a B2B company, but in the end, we see our product present in front of end users. That is key for us. That's how we measure success. And how we're going to grow the company is by actually providing these services in a deeper way. So being able to enable new financial services, enable new companies, and that is going to trigger the growth that we need in order to achieve whatever next step is in terms of valuation.
Great. Julio, in your case?
Yeah, no, we definitely see it the same way. So valuation is solely a consequence of the job that day in, day out you put into the company and how satisfied your customers are. So basically all we do is fight to have super amazing customers, and our commitment and our North Star is building the best product for finance teams. And this is where we're focusing. Valuations here and there, so you know the market will speak, but definitely all that is within our control is making customers happy.
Okay. Well, one last minute to share with our audience a very short tip that you want to share or think that is useful for our audience.
That's a good one. I didn't think of one. Look, I'm not ready to suggest tips. I think that in the entrepreneurial journey, it's all about your commitment, your determination, and a very intense level of obsession. So that's which applies basically to every job probably anyway. But look, this is what I would suggest to people that are starting the journey like we did a couple of years ago.
To me, I'll probably say think big. I think there are huge opportunities, and let's not think about some very small market. And then the second, that it comes with ups and downs. We see successful stories, and it seems that they all have managed to be extremely successful every single day at the work. It's not the case. We all struggle, and it's okay to go through downs. Work hard. You can transform them into ups pretty easily.
Well, thank you both. It's right on time. From the Catalan government, we are very happy and proud to have you here as our local heroes. Maybe you don't like this name, but for us, it's truly important to have companies that grow, companies that conquers the world, and that can inspire others here in Catalonia and in Barcelona specifically to set up their own businesses and make them grow as much as they can. So thank you very much, Uri and Julio. It's a pleasure, and thank you to be with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
I appreciate it.